Welcome to the Smart Talk series, the show for professionals who want strategies, tips, and real talk about all things PR, marketing, and social media. Your host is Melissa Vela Williamson, an award-winning, accredited, and nationally recognized PR pro and communication thought leader. And now your host, Melissa Vela Williamson.
Hello and welcome to the Smart Talk series. I'm Melissa Vela Williamson. This season, our focus is on Latinas in public relations. Today, I'm joined by two guests, Jill Casey Pintor and Marisol Vindiola. Jill is a PR and communications professional with experience spanning more than 2 decades across several industries, including television, nonprofits, entertainment, and finance. She currently works as a financial content writer at Street Cred PR and has served 3 terms as ethics chair on the PRSA Southern Arizona Chapter Board of Directors. Marisol is a senior business development manager in the multicultural space at Orange 142. She is passionate about public relations, relationship building, marketing, tourism, and the promotion of her heritage and culture. Her superpowers include being bilingual, binational, and bicultural. A proud Latina. Welcome, Jill and Marisol.
Thank you for having us, Melissa.
Thank you, Melissa, for having us on a Smart Talk. I'm excited.
I'm so excited. And you two know each other, and so I want to hear all about that. So let's learn more about your backgrounds. Jill, we'll kind of start with you. How did you get into public relations, and what's your work like today?
Yeah, so I knew I wanted to pursue a career in public relations all the way when I was in high school. So I had taken a marketing class and there was a brief segment on PR, and I just felt drawn to the profession. And so I studied communications at the University of Arizona because they didn't have a PR program at the time. But my senior year, I took advantage of an internship at a local PR firm, and that wound up actually becoming my first real job upon graduation. So I was a media coordinator. And then if you fast forward a couple of decades to where I am now, I started a job at Street Cred PR, which is a national PR firm focused on finance and wealth management. And I am on the thought leadership side of the house now and really enjoying that. I've been there for about 7 months.
I love that, and I appreciate that your school taught you a unit about public relations so early on. That is pretty atypical from a lot of pros I talk to, and definitely the guests we have on the show, is that you don't often get exposed to it so young, so that's really, really innovative of them. Marisol, tell us about your background. How did you get into PR, and what's your work life like today?
Yeah, of course. First, I just want to say that soy una orgullosa ciudadana del desierto sonorense from Sonora, Mexico. I've been living in Tucson since 2001. When I first became to the U.S. as an international student, my journey has been all about building connections and community in the region. I work at the Consulate of Mexico in Tucson before transitioning to the tourism industry, where I spent over like 60 years at Visit Tucson as a director of marketing. I have loved creating connection and building community since I remember. I think it's actually my passion. Everybody, all my friends, when I was in high school and even before, they say, Marisol, you're perfect for public relations. So they always nominate me to be the public relation person in the projects or entrepreneurs that we had back then, whether it was working from in a store when I was young, making people feel welcome, greeting customers, and at the consulate, then I was overseeing the public relations, and later Visit Tucson, where I promote, celebrate, and the culture, gastronomy, and the people of this majestic Sonora Desert, which I'm so proud of. And currently, I'm Senior Business Development Manager at Orange 1242. It's a digital advertising company where my expertise in tourism and multicultural marketing. And I met people from all over the world, like from the US, Latin America, and everywhere. So that's been an amazing journey for sure.
Absolutely. And I think that, your natural warmth, as you mentioned, people saw it in you, right, early on. So you either learn about it or someone knew about it and they see it in you and they can kind of invite you into the industry. And that's a great segue into us talking about the book we're in together that's coming or will be out by the time this podcast airs. Coming out Women's History Month 2025 in March. And, that book is about Latinas in public relations. It's the first ever anthology to focus on inclusion and voices from Latinas in PR doing the work who have some advice or insights to share. And a little backstory for everyone here is the reason I felt very called to put this collection together was because I personally believe that most Latinas I've met are very well suited for public relations. We are wired for community. We are wired for relationships. We're brought up to think of, our families and our network and our friend group. And sometimes that can be very, very beneficial in our work, and particularly in an industry like PR. So that's kind of what inspired me to go on this journey. But I want to ask you too, what inspired you to share your story in our new book, Latinas in Public Relations, Shaping Communications, Communities, and Culture?
So, Melissa, first, I want a big thank you, Jill, for the nomination and the recommendation to be part of this amazing project. I truly appreciate both of you for giving me the opportunity to become a book author. It was my dream for sure, be a co-author. When I received the invitation, I said yes right away. I didn't even think twice. I was so inspired to share my story in Latinos in public relations. I want to highlight my journey of resilience and hard work to encourage other Latinas to go for the passion and dreams in public relation or actually in general life. Like life can challenge you a lot during your life, and that doesn't mean that you have to stop and looking for your passion, right, and your dreams. This experience for sure is a catharsis for me. And I even cried when I was writing the book. And I was so inspired that now I want to write my second book. But actually, what it was like 2 years ago, I was invited to speak a conference in Las Vegas where I saw the audience engage with my journey and also the success of my multicultural campaign. And after the conference, a younger Latinas from the industry came and asked me, Marisol, can you give me suggestions on how can I become a stronger leader? And I want to be seen. I wanna have a place in a table in my company, and I told them, just be you. Make sure that you are seen and that you fight for your seat on the table, so the people in your bus and the people around you they can hear your voice, and that with alone a radio show that I host for many years, and people ask me all the time for personal and professional experience if I can share that. So they were inspired, and I was like, oh, maybe it could be good to start a blog. But then when the opportunity for the book present, I was like, I would take it, right?
I love that. And I loved your enthusiasm about it and your honesty in your story. So we'll get into that in just a minute. But just taking a step and writing down from your point of view is very brave of you pros. In public relations, we're often behind the scenes. We're often elevating or really helping someone else tell their story. So I found personally, as the main author, it was a challenge for me to curate the women that I felt like would be wonderful representation for the industry, but also were courageous enough to sit down and make that investment of time and the emotional capacity of it for some of us. So, Jill, what inspired you to share your story?
Oh my gosh, Melissa, I have to tell you, you came into my life at the perfect time. And I learned about the book project just as I had made a pretty difficult decision. I had made the decision to accept an early retirement package from my employer of 21 and a half years.
Wow.
And I was weighing that decision when I came across this opportunity. And I had started there as a marketing and communications specialist, worked my way up to vice president of corporate communications. And I had really accomplished quite a lot, but I was feeling stuck and I was navigating some rather heavy life challenges, which I share a little bit about in the book. And frankly, I was just trying to process everything happening to me. And I was scrolling through a PRSA chat group, a Latina chat group, and I came across your announcement. And I just felt like, you know what, sharing my story, I felt like it would just help me put things into perspective so that I could regain my footing and just kind of hit the refresh button. And then when you talked about, you were looking for a certain type of a contributor to the book, like Marisol popped up into my mind immediately. We had been on the PRSA board of directors, the Southern Arizona chapter board together. And we sat together at a conference, a PRSA conference, and we briefly shared each other's stories with one another. We had a story exchange, and she just stuck in my mind because we had real similar backgrounds and upbringings. But yeah, I mean, like Marisol was talking about it. I mean, it just brought out every emotion in me, and I didn't even share everything, but really, really, truly appreciate this opportunity. It has done so much for me.
Oh, and it's just the beginning. That's what I'm so excited about because I'm very honest when I say it's the journey itself is hard, and definitely from my solo book journey where, boy, that was like 40,000 plus words, and during the pandemic days, and there was a whole lot going on there. But when it's a calling, like you said, Jill, Marisol, like it becomes very clear to you and it almost bugs you and you just have to kind of answer it. But as you go through that journey and trying to refine your story, the authorship journey, it's about what it makes of you. And like you all said, having that time to be a little more introspective and think about, well, how did I get here? And how does this come together? What would I say? Especially within boundaries of you have a chapter, it's only so many words. So kudos to you for walking through that, but you're going to even grow even more as we tell the stories like we're doing here today. So we're going to do that. We're going to dig a little bit further because I've had that advantage of reading as we're going through the editing process across the author stories. And there are certainly some shared commonalities and connection points that come up, and perseverance and, going through adverse situations. Sometimes taking that nonlinear path came up a lot, overcoming feelings of doubt, feelings of, being held back, whatnot. But each story is different and unique for sure. So I want you to tell us a little bit more about what's in your story. So Jill, tell us more about what's in your story.
At a high level, my story is about being indomitable. And that's what led me to create that title, La Güera Indomable. By definition, it's just described as being unyielding, unconquerable, or just one who cannot be subdued or overcome, no matter what's happening, like to you or around you, and just kind of refusing to let anything break your spirit or derail your focus. I'm just a very focused person, and anything that messes with my focus, I'm just going to kick it away and tell it to just go away, right? So, that's representative of how I've tried to live my life. And I've had a lot of adversity. I think a lot of us probably have. And I shared some of those stories. Some of them I'm maybe not ready to share yet, but like Marisol said, maybe I'll have my own book coming out one day. But through it all, sitting down and penning out your story brings back emotions and memories of things that you've conquered throughout your life, sometimes without even thinking twice about it. It's just instinct, like, okay, go away. I'm busy. I'm on a mission here. So just kind of pinning down that and reminding myself what I had overcome in the past and how I had just kept on going was just very, very therapeutic for me. So anyway, in a nutshell, that's what my story is about, being indomitable.
I love that. Marisol, what's inside your story?
I was a little bit concerned, like it was way too personal. But you know what? I think it was great to share the very personal from the very personal perspective because I always try with this idea, and I think this is the what Jill was mentioning about is like this like Mexicans or Latinas and always like calladita te ves más bonita. They don't talk, just say like be nice to everyone, don't want to make a lot of noise. And I was like always having that like really uh, bother me so much, right? But I think it's cultural. So that's why I think at public relations, I always see people and I like to show myself in the authentic way. But my story is all about resilience, overcoming, challenging, coming to the US from Mexico without knowing nobody. I came to the US with 20 years or 21 years, not knowing, not even one, two, three. I came to the US to study English and it was very challenged. Like I had to start from scratch in the region to start building relationship, working really, really hard to get where I am right now. And also with the idea of coming go back to Mexico. But for some reason I always kept myself in Tucson and continue education. I loved continue education and I think and I want to say this for Latinas is like I think that's what makes us a success. And what we do is the passion, but also always continue our education. And of course, I have experience that had shaped who I am right now. I've been lucky enough to find jobs like in the Mexican consulate. I started with diplomatic visa when I was 21 years old, Melissa. Can you believe that? I couldn't even believe that. And I think God or universe or whoever you guys believe, I think they put me in the right path and open opportunities for me. But I think it's because have the courage to ask for what you want in life. Put your hands up and say, I want this. I want to become this. I can take that position and not let anyone to keep you calladita te ves más bonita.
Oh my gosh. Yes, 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 and yes. To both of your stories, and that's why I also was like, wow, okay, I can't wait to talk with them on the mod today because wait till y'all read my introduction. There'd been a phrase stirring in me for years, but I could not put the words together. I couldn't string the words together. I couldn't figure out what I wanted to say, but something was bothering me about why do I keep seeing Latinas hold themselves back sometimes? Yes, we have external challenges and there's systems and history of being repressed in this area, that area. Okay, beyond all that, I've also seen many Latinas not put their hand up, like you said, Marisol, right? Not be indestructible or indomitable, as Jill mentioned. Being, a little more timid about things. And I came to the realization early in my career, probably in my early 20s too, was that some of the things I learned in my cultural background weren't exactly going to serve me well in the workplace culture I saw and what was winning, right? So that's the difference between the collectivist culture and the natures around, doing what's best for the group and kind of fitting in and sometimes blending in. That doesn't always work for, corporate America. That doesn't always work for being seen as a leader. You have to be willing to stand out or step out sometimes. And so I just want to give you all a lot of props for identifying that in your careers, but also being willing to illustrate that and what we are talking about today and what you're doing on your career journeys, because it's really important, I think, for more women to put their hands up and not wait to be called on. And I think that is, this will be proof of that. So thank you. Well, you all have had different experiences of learning about PR and sound like you actually had some support from your network and inviting you into public relations, which is wonderful. And we want to do that for others too. And one thing I like to do is kind of tell people how broad the industry is. It kind of always has been, but it definitely is now. And there are many disciplines within public relations and marketing today. So what area do you find yourself drawn to, or what do you specialize in and why?
My PR experience spans across several areas because I've been working in the industry for over 20 years. As I shared earlier, I started in media relations primarily, worked in damage control, branding, corporate communications, several different areas. I've worked internal and external at agencies and representing companies. And right now, I'm in thought leadership and I'm really loving it. And the interesting thing there is I never knew it existed, right? I didn't think about it. It wasn't really on my radar. And over the past few years, as I came across this opportunity with Street Cred PR to do thought leadership, especially in an industry that I'm passionate about, I always said health and wealth. Those are my two areas of interest. Kind of back to what you were saying earlier about, something that would propel a Latina to raise their hand or just get indomitable or decide that they're going to go for it. I mean, I can tell you what motivated me was back in, like in the 90s, if you look at the poverty rates of Hispanic families, they were like almost, 27, 28%. And over the course of the past few decades, I think like in 2023, it was down to 14%. And I think, there was a rise in Latina business ownership at that time throughout, I remember like in the 2002s and right in there. And so I think a lot of those Latinas, just really broke through. Maybe they didn't know about industries, but kind of to relate it back to your question, I didn't know about thought leadership, but it's been so interesting and fulfilling for me. That's basically in a nutshell what it was at. I've enjoyed it all, but really, really feeling fulfilled right now.
Yeah, that's exactly why I wanted to kind of dig into this because I want people to know what all they can do with a public relations point of view. Marisol, what about you?
I'm really passionate about the intersection of the cross-cultural connections, community relations, the marketing, and also media relations. So that's where is my experience. I have been working in different companies in this capacity. So I love using creativity and storytelling to help brands and organizations connect with their audiences in a meaningful and authentic way. For instance, with BC Tucson, I always work really close with all the media from Mexico. And I was so excited when I see in the first page in the El Reforma, for instance, one of the main newspaper in Mexico. And I see talking about Tucson, this little small city in the borders. So I was so excited talking about the gastronomy, the amazing gastronomy that we have here in Tucson. Since we are city of gastronomy like San Antonio. And I was like, oh my God, my heart was so like proud of the work, but also to let know other people what is this amazing region. So that's one of my passions, and also is all about creating that connections and also making successful campaigns.
Yeah, I love it. And a little different, or is it a little different than business development in your perspective? I want to ask about that too, because I think people should know what that is too.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I would say it's like I say, it's like that intersection, really fine line that I enjoy much because I can go with PR. You need PR. I think you need a PR in every single area in your in basically your life, right? But in business, for me is you have to use it everywhere. But for me in business development, it's been helping me a lot this skill because I had some people that I know and they say, how do you engage and connect with people? And I've been doing this forever. And so not everybody has that skill, but when you have it, it gives you an extra step, right? Like put you in front, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you can pitch media, if you can sell a story idea, you can sell something else. So I think it just depends on, transferring those skills. So that's a great point,
Yeah.
Marisol.
And making that connections and they trust you. So I think that's so public relation can be in every single way in your life, right?
That's what I'm really passionate about sharing is that those principles can help you also have a very good personal life too and enjoy that health and wealth, as Jill said, for sure. So this has been really great for us to kind of share our background. And I also want to leave folks with a little bit of advice. So what advice would you share with someone who may be considering going after a promotion or taking some kind of scary step forward in their career?
Yeah, my advice will be believe in your worth and just go for it. I'm in areas, so imagine, right? Like, so trust yourself and just take the leap. your confidence will grow. And every decision that you made, every scary moment that you push through, step out of your comfort zone. My mentor always told me, Marisol, the sky is the limit. And I was like, boy, like, you really, like, I know that. But actually, when I started really thinking about it, the idea, I was like, yeah, the sky is the limit. And I just put myself like that barriers just because I don't want to get out from my comfort zone. Like I went from this my career, I was already having a place in the industry in Arizona. And now this opportunity came and I want to learn more about digital advertising and marketing. So I just want I knew the front end, but I didn't know the back end. And I took a decision and brave to take that decision. And I to be honest, I am really happy for the decision. So it's just like be brave enough to expose yourself and make sure that you are seen. Always make sure that you are seen and you're talking in and you'll be there so people see who you are and celebrate your little wins, right? Always be a small or big wins, always celebrate. Also, I would say to surround yourself with mentors and amazing people who see your potential. I will never thank you enough for this opportunity. Like just deal there with me and offer me the opportunity and put it in front of me. So I would say that's my advice to be brave and trust yourself.
I love it. Jill, what about you? I know you just went through a big turning point. What advice do you have to share?
I did. I've been through a few turning points and I'll talk about that, but I've had a few turning points in my life and I talk about some of the stories in the book, but I think it's important to just think about what do you have to lose if you don't go for the scary, right? I'm going to reflect back to when I was 18 years old and I had let my mother know I was going to be attending college. My mom did not attend college. She was a single mother, right? Just doing the best she could to make ends meet for us. And I remember saying, I'm going to Tucson. I'm going to a junior college up there. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to transfer to the University of Arizona. I'm going to pursue this PR degree. And I was scared. I was terrified. I mean, I literally arrived to Tucson on a Greyhound bus, transferred to a Suntran, moved into an unfurnished apartment. But I remember my mother asking me, like, why do you have to go? And it was just, that was part of the culture that she was brought up in, right? Just being a female, don't, kind of what Marisol was saying, just, be quiet, fly under the radar, just, do as you're told. But had I not taken that opportunity, and, I had literally two hefty garbage bags on that Greyhound bus coming to Tucson, like thinking I knew what I was doing, right? I'm going to pursue this career. And then what you were alluding to, yeah, I was with this company that I loved for 21 and a half years. And I had this decision and I was at a crossroads and I had to make that decision. But what I would say is now reflecting back on those things, I would say just, remove the scary, just disarm it. Don't give it that much power. Just learn everything you can about what you have to gain and, weigh the pros and cons. Don't be careless, but, maybe do a mental fast forward 3 to 5 years. Think about, hey, if I made that decision, maybe sleep on it. And then think about how you wake up in the morning, what you're thinking. Pretend you made this decision and then kind of let that be your gut check, And yeah, I mean, I wouldn't worry about rejection. Just practice accepting things at face value. They're either meant to be or they're not meant to be. They're not good or bad. And so, yeah, I've had a lot of moments like that, but I guess I'm at the point in my life where I'm like, you miss out on 100% of the chances that you don't take.
Yes, absolutely. And I want to underline so many things of what you all just said. I think what sometimes we forget as we go through our career, because I'm kind of at that point where I don't know who would chart this out. And again, I don't, we humans are just wired to categorize and try to understand things. And sometimes that might be to the downfall of us because we're so hard on ourselves because of that, right? So there is no perfect straight path A to Z through our career. And no matter where you're at, you will have these pivot moments or turning points where you have to make a decision or maybe life decides for you. And I think what you all are saying is so true because we get confident by taking the scary steps. We get confident by taking action and learning and iterating and evaluating. And guess what? All of our marketing and PR skills, our planning skills, our strategic planning skills can help us with our own career paths and personal decisions too. And so sometimes we do compartmentalize our lives a little bit too much, but I want to encourage everyone, hey, use those skills on yourself to make those decisions so that you are living an intentional life. And I feel like sometimes people from particularly the Hispanic or Latino culture weren't necessarily brought up with the idea of that they've got that agency to make those kind of choices for themselves and make that path if they don't, were given it. So I love what y'all are saying there. Well, great. I really enjoy speaking with you. I enjoyed speaking with you ladies today, and I definitely want to continue the conversation. But one thing I do like to ask all my guests before we wrap up is something that I kind of coined a term around. I call it smart talk. And I want to ask you, Marisol, what does smart talk mean to you?
Well, to me, it's all about being authentic and having a meaningful conversations, like truly connect with people, uh, like the one we're having right now. So that's where the smart talk happening when you are vulnerable enough to share your story, but from a real self, right? Like in the authentic way, I would say. I would say that we're having a smart talk right now.
Yeah. Jill, what does smart talk mean to you?
Yes, and I would agree with Marisol. And if I haven't mentioned it before, she's all about smart talk. She has such a wonderful story. And to just address what she was saying before, there was no way I wasn't going to include you in this book or this series because Marisol and I had a smart talk that led to us both participating in this opportunity. But I think it means just learning about something that interests you, discovering something new, and sharing information that might be helpful or meaningful to others. If we have to communicate, right, it's about communication so that we can unlock opportunities for one another and for ourselves.
Yes. Let's just pay it forward, pay it backwards, all the way around. I love that. Well, this is a great conversation, and I'm sure many people will want to follow up with you all and have some smart talk of their own. So, what's the best way for our listeners to connect with you?
I'm available on LinkedIn. You can find me out there on LinkedIn under Jill Casey Pintor.
And the best way to connect with me is the same LinkedIn and Marisol Vindiola. So feel free to reach out, and I would love to connect with anyone.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for your time and for sharing your knowledge with us today.
Thank you, Melissa, too, for the leadership in this project. And I'm so excited. And Jill, thank you so much, too, for the opportunity to present that opportunity.
Yeah, I'm honored to ride along this journey with both of you. And thank you, Melissa, for leading the way.
My honor. Thank you. Thanks to our listeners for joining me for today's episode. We love covering communication topics that elevate our industry practice. If you'd like to go deeper, you can work with me as a coach, trainer, consultant, or hire my firm, MVW Communications, for strategic communication and public relations services. My industry books, Smart Talk Public Relations Essentials All Pros Should Know, and Latinas in Public Relations, Shaping Communications, Communities, and Culture, are also available for purchase on Amazon. Grab your copy there, and please leave us a supportive review. Book reviews and podcast reviews help more aspiring or hardworking pros find our resources. As always, think smart and communicate smart. And I'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Smart Talk series. If you learned something or enjoyed our conversation, share it on social media or send to a friend. To learn more about this and other communication topics, visit mvw360.com. That's mvw360.com.